I'm Robbie Gries. I'm a petroleum geologist. I am president of Priority Oil and Gas in Denver, Colorado, a company that I own and operate. We have production in Kansas and Wyoming. Most of our production is natural gas production in Kansas. The way an oil and gas geologist works and develops a prospect almost always starts in the office, where you have access to, usually on your computer now, to the records of all the wells that have been drilled to this time in the area where you're exploring. So you will look at, they're called well logs. So you look at these well logs and they have measurements that are taken in a borehole that's drilled at depth. And you can look at those well logs and, you know, correlate them for tens of and hundreds of miles. But in the process of looking at them, you evaluate what might be a reservoir rock that would hold oil and gas, and what might be the structure of that. And so you do that kind of stuff in the office, and then you might meet with your staff and say, you know, it looks to me like here's an area that's not been drilled, or it hasn't been drilled deep enough. So let's go out, let's go with a landman and see if there are oil and gas leases that could be acquired in that way. And so you either do it yourself or hire a landman or use the company landman to go check on that. And while he's checking on that, you're checking with the geophysicist to see what it would take to run a geophysical program over this area where you think there might be a drillable prospect. And so you get that data together, either you finance it or your company finances it, or you find partners to finance it, and you do a seismic project over it. So then you might spend, and you might go out there while they're doing that project and check the locations and make sure that they're shooting exactly where you want them to shoot. There's a lot of opportunities to be out in the field looking at the rocks, which is what we like to do in the first place. Then that data comes back into the office, and you have screens full of geophysical data that you have to interpret and see if your prospect is still there. Sometimes it's not, and you've wasted a lot of money, but you've learned something. You can always make something out of that and say, okay, it isn't here, but it looks like we might have a project adjacent it, so then you expand your exploration area. But once you've developed a drillable prospect out of that process, then again, either your company, or you'll get partners too, will decide to drill it. You get engineers involved, and they'll put together a program of what it will take in dollars to drill that well, whether it's to 2,000 feet or 10,000 feet or 20,000 feet. It's a lot of money. So you can go from $150,000 to drill the well to $150 million to drill the well. It's very expensive. So you've got a lot on the line with this project. And if you're fortunate, and especially if it's your company, when it's drilled, you're out there and you're looking at the samples in the rocks the whole time. And it's extremely exciting, because when a rig is drilling, it's talking to you. The sound of the rig has a certain sound as it's just drilling through the overburden of whatever you're prospecting for. But when it hits a reservoir, the sounds completely change, and you know you've hit something. You don't know if it's going to be full of water or whether it's going to be full of oil. So it gets pretty exciting. You look at the samples. You might have some shows of oil and gas, and call out for some testing, and they'll bring in equipment to just test that zone. And anyway, you go along and you test the zones, and you might finally decide, okay, we've got a well here, so you have to order out casing. So maybe you've spent $10 million on this well. It could cost you another $10 million to complete that well. But once it's completed, and then you put it online for selling the oil and gas, well, that's another historic day and an exciting time. because then you evaluate how big the discovery is and how many wells you might be able to drill to completely drain the reservoir rock and how long that will take. And you have to find a market for that oil and gas. So all the different stages of it are fun, exciting, but nothing's as exciting as the first geological part of it and the geological part in the drilling process. If I was giving advice to someone entering geology or the oil and gas business, there are several things that I think have helped me. One of them, from my very first jobs in high school and college, was that I just have a dogged need to persevere on anything. So perseverance is something that has gotten me a lot, where I just didn't give up. I would keep trying and I would keep going and I would keep looking for a job or looking for oil and gas or expecting that I was going to be successful. So perseverance, I think, has been one of my best friends in forming a successful career. Hard work goes without saying. Hard work is easy. It's not work when you're doing something that you really love. So if you find you don't really love geology or research or oil and gas, you probably shouldn't be in it. But if you love it, every day is not a pain to go to work. Every day I get up excited about what I'm going to do at the office that day, just because I have a passion for it and it's fun. I've heard so many geologists say, I can't believe they pay me to do this because it's too much fun. But one of the things that really, really makes a successful career is to always put yourself into situations where you're meeting people, getting to know them, appreciating them, and letting them know what you can do. And by that I mean you join your local geological societies. If you're in school, you join your geology clubs. When you get out, or even while you're still in school, you join the professional societies in your town and your global or national professional societies. And you don't just join and pay your dues, you volunteer to work on a field trip or to help with luncheons, or you do anything that gets you in a position where you know people and they know you. And people recognize a hard worker. And so in our business, the oil and gas business, commodity prices go up and down and people get laid off and get rehired, and they have to be special in order to get a job when jobs are fewer. One of the things that makes people special is the fact that they have a huge network of people that know them. And whether you're looking for a job or trying to sell a prospect, trying to get a partner in a deal that you want to have drilled, you call up people that you know and you say, okay, I've got this prospect. And if they're not interested, you say, well, who do you know that will be? And so then you expand and expand and expand your contacts. And soon, you know, this is really the substance that makes a great career, is having a wide variety of people that you know and of influence that can help you with your career. And then you turn around and do the same for others.